The judge fainted when she saw the necklace the prisoner was wearing, the same one her daughter wore when she disappeared 12 years ago. The courtroom was crowded, as usual. The sound of lawyers whispering, the steady footsteps of police officers, and the rustling of clothes from curious onlookers blended in the air. For most of the people present, it was just another day in court, another case among many in an unbroken routine of justice. But for Emily Carter, this trial was much more than a simple hearing. For her, this day would mark the turning point that would change her life in a way she never imagined. Emily was a respected judge, known for her firm demeanor, impartiality, and sound decisions. But her personal life hid a deep pain, something she had never been able to move past. 12 years ago, her daughter, Lily, disappeared without a trace. Lily was only 8 years old at the time, and since then, Emily had lived a life divided between her impeccable professional career and the anguish of not knowing what had happened to her daughter. Lily's disappearance was an unsolved mystery. There were no witnesses, no clues, and the police couldn't find any indication of where or why Lily had vanished. Over the years, the investigations dragged on, and eventually, the case was closed. But for Emily, that was never an option. She never accepted that her daughter was lost forever. And there was one thing in particular she never let go of: the gold necklace with a heart-shaped pendant that Lily wore every day, a gift from her grandmother. On the day she disappeared, the necklace was left at home, but Emily kept it as a symbol of hope. She believed that, somehow, it was the key to understanding what had really happened to her daughter. As life went on, Emily dedicated herself to her work and the constant weight of doubt. Every case she judged, every decision she made, was a way of distracting herself from the deep pain of not having answers about Lily. However, this particular trial would change everything. The defendant was Victor Harris, a man with a long criminal history, involved in thefts and associations with criminal organizations. He was being tried for a series of serious charges, and his behavior during the hearing was arrogant and disdainful. However, there was something in the air in that room, something Emily couldn't explain. She was preparing herself for another case until her gaze was drawn to something that made her heart nearly stop. Victor Harris was wearing a necklace. The necklace. It was Lily's necklace, the same heart-shaped pendant Lily had worn every day, and which Emily had kept as the last reminder of her missing daughter. Emily froze, the blood draining from her veins. She couldn't take her eyes off the necklace. The golden shine of the pendant reflected the light in the room, as if mocking her pain. Her mind began to spin, a whirlwind of questions, but the main one was, how does he have this? The sight of Victor with the necklace caused such a shock that Emily could no longer stay on her feet. Her breathing quickened, and before she could react, she fainted. The courtroom immediately went into panic. Lawyers screamed. Officers rushed to the judge, trying to revive her. The room was in an uproar, with cries and murmurs of concern. After several agonizing minutes, Emily began to regain consciousness. She slowly opened her eyes, still dizzy, but her mind was already focused on one question. Where was her daughter? With tremendous effort, Emily stood up and asked for the trial to resume. She knew she couldn't let this pass. Lily's necklace wasn't there by chance. Something much bigger was happening. Something she needed to understand. With a determined look, she addressed Victor, her voice now cold and controlled, but with an intensity he didn't expect. Victor Harris, where did you find that necklace? Victor remained silent for a moment, clearly uncomfortable. He avoided looking directly at her, his face tense, but there was no fear in his eyes, only a quiet apprehension. Finally he spoke, his voice low and hesitant. I found the necklace, Your Honor. A woman gave it to me. She told me it was very important and asked me to keep it safe, not to tell anyone. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. A woman? Her mind raced. Who was she? And why was he holding on to such a personal, meaningful object, as if it were a relic? Who was this woman, Victor? She forced her voice to remain steady. Where is she? Victor looked down at the floor, clearly struggling with his decision to reveal more information. After a moment of hesitation, he looked up and spoke, his voice barely audible. I don't know her name, but she has a daughter. She asked me not to tell anyone, just to keep the necklace safe, to protect it. She was desperate, Your Honor. She paid me to do this. A heavy silence fell over the room like a thick cloud. Emily felt the weight of Victor's words, and something inside her began to understand what was happening. The feeling that this woman and this story were directly connected to Lily's disappearance grew in her chest. But there was still more. Something wasn't right. Who was this woman? Why was she involved in this? Soon, the investigation intensified. The police followed every lead, combed through records, and over time, an enigmatic figure began to emerge. Sarah Miller, a woman with a criminal past involved in kidnappings and trafficking, had disappeared from the public eye years ago. But what the police uncovered was even more shocking. Sarah Miller wasn't just involved with a criminal organization. She had been complicit in keeping Lily captive, hidden from the eyes of everyone. For all these years, Sarah had believed the girl would be safer away from everyone, protected in an isolated location, far from the clutches of the organization that was hunting her. Lily's necklace had been left with Victor Harris by Sarah, who believed he could keep the item safe. The idea was simple. If someone had the necklace, maybe they could protect the girl. And Sarah also wanted someone to know that Lily was still alive. But things had spiraled out of control. The police's work was relentless. Finally, they located Sarah's hideout in an abandoned warehouse in the middle of a forgotten neighborhood. When Emily saw her daughter for the first time after so many years, time seemed to stop. Lily was there, alive, well, but scared. Her expression was one of confusion, as if she had been trapped in a nightmare that lasted an eternity. But when she looked at her mother, something in her face lit up. Emily ran to her, embracing her with a force that nearly knocked them both over. Tears of relief and pain flowed down her face, and she whispered words of love and longing. The necklace, which had always symbolized hope, now symbolized victory, reunion, and the perseverance of a mother who never gave up. Victor Harris, despite his involvement in crime, played a crucial role in solving the case. The delivery of the necklace was a key piece, a clue no one could have predicted. In recognition of his help, he received a reduced sentence, but his name was never again remembered with the same significance. He paid for the crimes he committed, but somehow he contributed to the end of a long story of suffering. Emily and Lily began a new life together, stronger than ever. The past was behind them, and the future now promised happiness. The necklace, which had once represented loss, now symbolized the unbreakable love of a mother and the joy of a daughter found.